Good morning, everyone. My name is Anna, and I will be your facilitator for today. And I hope all of you are safe and doing very well wherever you are. I'm sure all of us are so excited to get into this morning's discussion, but I'm looking at the screen right now, and I'm just so excited to see that we have a very diverse group for today. So before anything else, I'd just like to welcome our guests from all around the world. I can see that Australia is represented, so is Singapore, the Philippines, of course, and New Zealand. And we also have friends in the US and the UK who I'm aware are not sharing the same time zone as us. So we hope that you're having a great evening as well. But to all of our guests all around the world, thank you so much for joining us today and welcome to Erp Solutions webinar. This is Smart Wholesale Distribution, impacting the demand of hyperconnectivity. We are bringing you the opportunity not only to learn from our industry leaders, but also to thrive as we move forward in this new normal. So please feel free to share whatever is happening in your end in this webinar through your Facebook or your LinkedIn accounts. Just a request, could you please use our hashtags? We have two of them. That's hashtag Smart Wholesale Distribution and also hashtag Erp Solutions. We would appreciate it so much. So today we have set up a program where we can deep dive on how you can withstand various business challenges. You learn how to capacitate wholesale distribution companies, also improve business processes, supply chain, and also customer experience so you can get ahead of the competition through the power of technology. We have invited some of our thought leaders who have experienced pivoting due to different business impacting issues that they have experienced, and they are here to share their insights and also their strategies on how to remain resilient and also future-proof the wholesale distribution industry in this new era. Very, very important. So before we officially start our program, let me just give you a brief background of Erp Solutions. Erp Solutions is actually a leading-edge, award-winning cloud technology solutions company that provides enterprise resource planning, business management software, also telecom expense management, and service management for your businesses. But today, Erp Solutions is taking this step as your trusted business partner in sharing business hacks to help you recreate your ladder to success, especially in leveraging digital transformation to be competitive and drive innovation for wholesale distribution companies. And to officially welcome us to this webinar, it is my great pleasure to introduce to you the CEO of Erp Solutions, Stephen Canning. Stephen?
Thank you, Anna. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I'm Stephen Canning, CEO of Erp Solutions, and it's my huge pleasure today to introduce today's webinar to you all. If this is your first time interacting with Erp Solutions today, welcome. And if you're familiar with the Erp Solutions story, welcome back. So Erp Solutions is a technology consulting company operating across Asia Pacific. We create business growth for our customers, and we do that through the delivery of a range of end-to-end digital solutions and professional services, all delivered by highly engaged industry experts. Now, there has been global economic change. Of that, there's no doubt. The global pandemic has changed our business lives forever. The pandemic compressed years or maybe even decades of business change into just months and quarters. And yes, change drives innovation, and we're seeing real business innovation, especially in the wholesale distribution industry. New opportunities have been created, new industry players have emerged with digitally transformed business models, and that can mean some tough competition. So we all need to be agile, and we all need to be able to adapt. The new industry players are working smarter in today's connected market. Existing industry players have to adapt their business models and their customer service models. And now more than ever, businesses need to provide a seamless customer experience across all channels. Businesses need to adapt how they interact with customers to meet new expectations. They need to automate processes for efficiency, and they need to be able to deliver goods and services seamlessly. It all comes back to ensuring that we have satisfied customers. And with the right tools and analytics, wholesale distribution businesses can work smarter in today's connected marketplace. So we have a great lineup of speakers for you today to cover some really interesting and very important topics. Firstly, we're going to talk about delivering a seamless customer experience through analytics. Now, when times get tough, we need to double down on delivering an exceptional customer experience. And I love Steve Martin's advice to struggling stand-up comedians. Be so good that they can't ignore you. And that's what we as businesses have to do with our customers. We have to communicate exceptionally well and over-deliver. And in the first part of this session, we're going to hear about using data and analytics to transform to a more customer-centric business, providing customers with more personalized interactions. And secondly, we're going to talk about making customer management easy. We're going to talk about sales and marketing automation, about how having the right customer relationship management platform can automate and synchronize sales and marketing operations and ultimately drive better predictive decision making. And then thirdly, we're going to discuss how to transform from business to business to business to consumer. Now, last year, I heard some amazing stories about some of our customers who, when the global pandemic hit, were able to quickly pivot their businesses from B2B to B2C. So if you're importing and roasting coffee beans, for example, and you can no longer distribute them to cafes because they've closed, well, why not sell them and deliver them to the consumer at home? Now, Rio is an exciting product in our portfolio that enhances the booking, payment and delivery process capability for both B2B and B2C organizations. And this allows a business to create a seamless customer experience. So that's the lineup for today. I hope you get some valuable insights. And now it's time for me to hand over to those industry experts. But welcome and thanks for joining.
Thank you so much, Stephen, for welcoming us. And now we are even more excited to learn from our experts this morning. Thank you for that preview. So here we go. Joining me today are 4 industry experts. They are so excited to share with you hacks and tips on how wholesale distribution companies can actually work smarter in today's hyper-connected market. So please allow me to introduce them one by one. Our first speaker has 18 years of experience in creating opportunities across all industries, providing quality systems that help businesses run more effectively, efficiently, and profitably, which is very important. He helps business leaders striving to reach their goals to combine all the aspects of their business into an integrated cloud-based application with a customizable interface accessible from anywhere in the world. He's passionate about amplifying the use of technology in all organizations and in every industry, leading them to the realization that becoming a smart business boosts their competitive advantage. So please help me welcome the National Sales Manager of Erp Solutions, Nigel Gates. Hi, Nigel.
Hi, Anna. Thank you for that lovely introduction. It was very humbling. I think it's a super relevant topic, and I'm really glad to be here.
Oh, we're very excited for that, Nigel. And thank you for joining us today. Now, we are moving on with the next speaker who has more than 20 years of experience in sales, marketing, and IT leadership. He is considered a veteran in the IT industry. Barry's focus on the customer at the heart of the solutions he helps formulate also makes him a new breed of IT, helping to redefine how businesses view and value technology. So please, let's welcome the General Manager of Leading Edge Group, Barry Williams. Hi, Barry.
Hi, Anna. Thanks very much for having me today. It's great to be here.
We're looking forward to hearing from you, Barry. And we are now moving on to our third speaker who has 30 years of international experience. And that includes streamlining business operations, boosting productivity, and also implementing a disciplined approach to business management. He has a strong background working with startups and also multinational organizations, and he has managed companies in the UK, Australia, and also Asia. He is passionate about technology, business change, and impactful investment strategies. Let's welcome the General Manager of J-Curve Asia and Rio, Arthur Fernandez. Hi, Arthur.
Hi, Anna. Thanks for the introduction. Really looking forward to getting into the panel discussion, actually. Thank you.
It's good to see you, Arthur.
Likewise.
And last but definitely not the least, our fourth speaker is a customer-focused product leader with 15 years of experience in digital products across varied industries, such as insurance, e-commerce, and service-based businesses. He has worked in different digital roles in Fortune 100, also mid-sized and startup companies across the US, India, and also Australia. He's also passionate about customer service and fostering collaboration amongst teams. Joining us here today, Rio's product manager, Varun Sharma. Hi, Varun.
Hey, Anna, thanks a lot for the introduction. Really excited to be here today and looking forward to an engaging session. Thank you.
Yes. And I think the key word for today is excited. Everybody's really excited to share. And I know that all our guests are excited to hear and learn from our experts. So that actually completes our roster of industry experts this morning. So without further ado, we shall begin. We know that you have tons of questions. And even though the speakers are still talking and discussing, please don't forget to write down your questions just so you don't forget them, because we are going to give you time to ask our speakers later on. So we have questions in our mind, I'm sure, like how a data-centric business can adapt and emerge in this hyper-connected era. And also now that customers' data of preference and behaviors can be accessed with consent and permission, businesses have the ability to personalize product delivery and also customer interactions. They can build lasting connections by running analytics and automation, supplemented by the knowledge on how to organize, automate, and also synchronize sales and marketing operations with the help of a very reliable customer management system. These will, in turn, transform them into a digital wholesale distributor. Now, to help address your concerns in all of those areas, listen to some insights from the National Sales Manager of J-Curve Solutions, Nigel Gates, and also the General Manager of Leading Edge Group, Barry Williams. So let's bring them back. Nigel and Barry, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much once again, Anna. That was fantastic. The last 12 months has really given us all a masterclass on why we need to make sure our systems are future-proof. So I think this is super relevant. It's great to talk about. Look, I think the question of data being important is super. That's what we're talking about right now. So one of the things to emerge over this period was the importance of data to companies that are trying to move inventory. We all have it. We all have masses of it, but how useful it was became super important in looking at different outcomes of different businesses. And I should mention, I'm not talking about businesses that were demand beneficiaries over the past 12 months. If you were selling toilet paper, I can understand why you're sitting here going, why are these guys having this discussion? This has been great, but that hasn't been the case for all of us. Not all of us were so lucky to be demand beneficiaries, right? So I think when we looked at this period, companies were really good at asking the right questions. They were good at sort of going, hey, this is the information we need to find out so we can make decisions. But the internal capability provided to support decision making became a stumbling block that can increase risk at inappropriate times. So when things got tough, or we had demand and supply issues, it becomes really important that we make the right choices. And making decisions without supporting data is just simply an act of faith. And that probably brings me to Barry. Barry, your business sits in the middle of hundreds and hundreds of suppliers and customers. It's probably given you one of the most unique insights into making the right business decisions that I can think of, right? So especially when you're under stress. Can you tell us a little bit about your business challenges and how NetSuite has helped you?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Nigel. I guess you'd say we're not really your traditional distribution business. We kind of act as a conduit between vendors, distributors, and retailers, both here in Australia and New Zealand, as well as the UK. We add value to that supply chain by minimizing financial risk with our distribution partners, and we help retailers by simplifying their accounting processes. We started in Australia and been operating here for over 30 years, and we're across multiple verticals. So we live and breathe the industry as a whole. And last year was one of the best and the worst for us. Unfortunately, we're not in toilet paper, but we have seen increasing pressure in some markets and great new opportunities open up in others. And the latter is where we're trying to focus our attention. Look, our NetSuite journey started many years ago when we were faced with the problems of having disparate systems and a fundamental lack of consolidated data. Some of the audience might be familiar with the 4 stages of analytics, but we were very much at that first stage, which is descriptive. And we couldn't really form a single central place where we could view everything. Whilst we had connected systems, we were focused on getting them and keeping them connected rather than improving the data and our view of the customer. NetSuite has taken a lot of that initial pain away by providing a single source of truth for us. And we've spent a lot of time asking more questions of what and of why we're seeing the results that we are. NetSuite gives us that single platform to capture all that data and makes it easier to report and digest.
Yeah, I think it's it's essential, because even when you had disparate systems and data going everywhere, you had data, you were able to capture some of that data, right? But it's putting it to use. It's if your data is only accessible to a specific group of people or a handful of people, or it takes a lot of effort to obtain that data, expecting everyone to make the right decision is effectively saying that things will be okay. And that's not always the case. And I guess this last 12 months has really proven that to us, Barry. But I guess for our audience, considering what tools you have to support everyone in the business in their decision making, we will talk a lot, during this presentation, and we talk a lot at NetSuite about giving people a 360-degree view of their customers, a 360-degree view of their vendors, their products, of everything, and this type of data supported with the right reports, the right analytics, is just one of the keys, to success. And today we've got the power of people opting into data. We can go out to customers, and our customers actually say to us, we want you to tell us more about your products, more about your services. And this allows us to insight into their customers. So I remember many years ago, I spoke to some folks who sold luxury motor vehicles, and they were often encouraged to remember specific coffee styles that their customers wanted. And they would tell their customers as they were taking notes and writing it down on bits of paper, that, hey, I'm going to remember this for next time, because, it was basically in their head, but this was something that next time you show up, you are going to be provided with something you didn't expect. And the customers were happy for this to happen. The customer knew they were writing it down. So this stuff was all written down on pieces of paper, but they were capturing the data, right? And Barry, you described earlier what it was like to be at the first stage of analytics, the descriptive stage, I guess. Can you tell us a little more about the other stages, and where are you now, with the help of NetSuite? Where have you gotten to?
Yeah, I'm really happy to say that we've moved well along from that first stage. And I would kind of say we're somewhere between the second and the third stages, and that's between diagnostic and predictive. We've been looking for answers as to why things have been happening. And as I mentioned, adding more and more layers to our data to help fill in those gaps. And it's really been helped by exactly what you're talking about here, asking from our customers for more, and they're willing to tell us. And key critical here is having that single central platform to capture it all in NetSuite. It's been really powerful for us.
So the type of information that you can gather today with your customer's permission has never been seen before. Customers will freely type in their favorite order over the internet. And from there, we can suggest further services. We can suggest further products that these customers may be interested in. Companies that become data-driven are more easily able to, identify the return on investment on opportunities, or high return on investment opportunities. They're more able to, focus their product strategy to find a really clear path forward. So if you think about, who needs to know the specific information about a customer, can we make that information accessible to them in a meaningful way? Will our systems allow us to, evolve the type of information we make available to our employees? I talked earlier about, the folks on you selling luxury cars and writing down coffee orders on pieces of paper. In part, I was also trying to highlight the importance of having a solution that can cater to your employee needs and evolve with them as they change. I was going back many years, but if you go into a luxury car dealership today, many of them have, cafes in them. They're not just selling coffee, they're selling bagels, they're selling other things as well. as well as the cars, obviously. So businesses can get caught asking their employees to ensure a great customer experience and really not consider the toolkit or the processes used. The information they provide to their customers or to their employees, to make the right decisions and really create those little interactions that make a big difference is simply not there. Very Leading Edge Group has been using NetSuite for a little while now and focusing on analytics for some time. How is this helping you to provide a better customer experience?
Yeah, I think you touched on it there, Nigel, and who needs to have access to the data. And I think everyone in your organization needs to have a picture of their customer, from your frontline customer service staff through to finance teams, to have a really engaging conversation with that customer. It's just so critical. So everyone needs to be entering data into the same platform and viewing that same data so that conversations can seamlessly hand across. As I mentioned before, we're in the third stage of analytics, and that's predictive. And we're really starting now to predict those buying patterns, and this is helping us to help both our customers and our suppliers. We can provide better insight to both sides of the equation, and that's really helped us during COVID. We're able to pivot more rapidly to meet many of the supply and demand challenges we all faced. And well, let's be honest, we're still facing those challenges today. The next step for us is about moving to prescriptive, and that's the holy grail of analytics, where we can start to understand what we should be doing next and how that might impact the future for us and our customers and our suppliers. So important.
So you're telling me that if I was coming to one of your business, you wouldn't be asking what sort of coffee I wanted?
Well, I know, Nigel, you don't drink coffee, so I certainly wouldn't be serving that up for you.
It's very true. Like I said, I have no idea what pumpkin spice even is. So look, I think what we're highlighting here, it's not just about collecting data, right? It's not about asking the right questions or even about analyzing the data so much, but it's really about de-risking your business. It's about empowering your employees with the right information to make the right decisions. It's a decision to become a data-driven organization. It's a decision to empower your company to provide a great customer experience. Those things don't just happen. You have to decide to want to do them. And I suppose, like, this pandemic that we've gone through, COVID, has really accelerated the growth of the digital experience for many consumers. You know, I talk myself here because I don't think that my story is that much different to anyone else. But you know, pre-COVID, our family, like we bought the occasional thing online, you know, but it wasn't much. But today, everything from our groceries to my wife's gym wear is being delivered to our front door. And this starts to, you know, it brings up expectations. I will, you know, it's quite openly say there was a level of stress involved for me when I started shopping online. And as soon as I purchased something, I was looking at my email, and I was looking at that email going, please tell me you've got my order. And, you know, in my case, I was lucky. Straight away, I got an email back from the provider saying, yes, we've got your order. You know, and then I got an email the next day saying that, hey, this order's being processed. And with every bit of communication from that business, I felt more at ease and more comfortable doing that, right? So I wanted to know that my products were shipped. I didn't know I wanted to know that before I got the emails and things saying that I could track this stuff. But once I got it, it made me feel a lot more comfortable. You know, I could start tracking my package. You know, it made me feel more secure. And if I use my experience, you know, I really am more likely to purchase from that vendor again. You know, it became something that was quite stressful, became a very stress-free you know, situation for us. And I suppose, you know, if I tie that back to NetSuite, NetSuite's really able to synchronize all the elements for an online experience for your customers. If you're someone that sat there and bought that stuff online before and you've seen this information being provided, it's because they're using a system like NetSuite. You know, from receiving orders on a NetSuite website through to fulfillment and shipping, and ultimately to your customer receiving their goods, you're able to provide your customers all the costs associated with the purchase. So there's no surprises there even, you know, there's no extra cash here or there's a shipping charge there. That's all costed into your purchased goods, right? So the importance of transparency and letting your customers know, hey, we've got you, we've got all the information you need. We're going to make this a very easy process for you. We're going to keep you informed. It's okay. You know, really was the start of me really enhancing my ability to purchase things online. And in my opinion, our customers are now more open to sharing that personal information with you as long as they understand the benefits. You know, I knew when I bought the things that I bought online that my data was being passed on to a courier service, you know, when I ordered a package. My wife loves getting suggestions. My wife's a sneakerhead. She likes buying sneakers, and she likes getting pictures of sneakers that have just come out that are sent to her you know, because she has empowered that business to say, these are the types of things I like. And if I look at it, you know, she spends more. Apologies if I said she, we spend more. So we spend more now. When a customer gives you this kind of trust, proactively allowing you to market to them, the investment into a platform that will allow your business to have a single source of truth becomes far less risky. You know, and Barry, with, you know, like I said, you sit in between hundreds and hundreds of customers and hundreds and hundreds of suppliers. And with what we've been discussing, tell me what's next for Leading Edge Group?
Yeah, sure. So I think Stephen touched on it earlier and said, you know, that COVID and this pandemic has really forced innovation on businesses, and to do that really, really quickly. So that's been a key focus for us. You know, we're almost bottling 10 years of development work into months now. So that's really increased that pace of change in our business, and it's really, really exciting. But just touching on the analytics side of things, you know, what it's allowed us to do is really drill into our value proposition. Over the years, we've been adding more and more services and trying to deliver more value to it from our proposition without truly understanding the impact of those additional benefits. Now, when we launch new benefits, we can really drill into that impact, not only on our bottom line, which is where we always looked at it, but our customer sentiment. And that's so important to keep those customers happy. And as you mentioned before, you know, people want instant gratification, and we deliver that through communication and timeliness and being in front of them, giving them constant updates. Now, the other part of that is that it's allowed us to really find that core value of what our proposition is. We've been able to take that, simplify it, and now we're allowing us to move into other new markets, which is a great, fantastic opportunity for us, and really excited about the future with NetSuite.
Yeah, awesome. So look, and as your partner and as business partner, you and I have been together for a while, Barry. I look forward to our continuing relationship and the challenges that you guys throw up at us. So it's great to work with you. Thanks a lot, Barry. And back to you, Anna.
Okay, thank you so much, Nigel and Barry. That was a really insightful exchange, and we did ask our guests to send in their questions, and I can see that some of them have already. But if you haven't yet, please do take this chance to get some clarification, and I'm sure Barry and Nigel will be more than happy to answer them for you. So let's get started with the questions that I have. I think this one is going to Nigel. So the question is, why don't you drink coffee, and do you know what you're missing? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, Nigel. Okay, here we go. The question is, now that we have become data-driven and are capable of supporting decision-making, how do we stay competitive in a highly disruptive industry ecosystem?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, so look, digital transformation requires, you know, continuously improving the experience. You know, you've got to be challenging yourself. So I think if you're trying to stay competitive and you're trying to stay relevant in a disrupt, you know, in the disruption that we've had, it's the ability to go out there and try new business models and processes and products and services and take those risks, right? To measure those experience responses. So I think Barry was talking about this, but not just measuring it from a bottom line perspective, but also measuring it from a customer sentiment standpoint, right? So it's really trying to get all that information together so that when you do try the new products, when you do try new services, when you do try new business processes, you can measure all the different impacts of your business. And if you just measured it from a bottom line perspective, you actually might be missing the point. And I think there's a lot other things that go on there. So it's really about optimizing the value of the experience. You know, a full 360-degree view of whatever you're trying to do, measure it, you know, ask those questions and equip yourselves. And if you continue doing that and you've got the solutions behind you to support, you know, the answers, I think that will allow you to stay competitive into the future.
Thank you. Thank you so much for clarifying that for us, Nigel. I'm going to give this one to Barry. Barry, it says, what is the most challenging aspect of data analytics and how do you address that?
That's a good question. You know, we've been through this journey, and I think the most challenging aspect is analyzing data across multiple sources. You know, in most organizations, you've got data sets in different platforms, different systems, or maybe, as I just said, written down on scraps of paper. And you know, the process of combining all of this data, it's really time consuming, and that can limit your ability to derive insights. And you know, it's a really transactional piece, and you're not actually adding value back to the organization. And I think the power of having that centralized system, you've got it all in one place at one time. And it's seamless to transition that data from, you know, business unit to business unit, from customer to customer. And obviously that saves you time, but it's saving you revenue. It's saving you time about how quickly you can pivot and how you can address new markets. And certainly it allows cross comparisons and make sure that your data is really quality and it's complete. You've got that 360-degree picture, as Nigel said before as well. That's so important.
All right, thank you so much for that, Barry. And Nigel, thank you so much for answering the questions that our guests have sent your way. And thank you, Barry, for sharing your success story with us as well. I'm sure that is inspiring a lot of our guests on here. So gentlemen, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
So now that we understand the link between seamless customer experience and customer management, let's now continue with our program. The question now is, how do we transform B2B companies to B2C through Rio? The General Manager of Erp Solutions Asia and Rio, Arthur Fernandez, and Varun Sharma, Product Manager of Rio, are here to share how you can integrate this service management platform to streamline the customer journey in delivering your products as a wholesale distributor business. So let's welcome both of them again. Arthur and Varun. Arthur and Varun.
Hi, Anna. Thank you very much for that. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you, Varun, yes. Arthur, I'm sorry, I can hear you. You can go ahead, Arthur.
Thank you, Anna. Appreciate that. So, sorry, apologies. I think a little bit of a technical issue on my side. My Zoom just completely died. So I'll continue because I think you can still hear me. Now, from a wholesale distribution perspective, I've got an article up there. I'm sharing my screen. It basically is an article on the rise of e-commerce. No, it's not sharing. Give me a second. Let's try this. Great. There's an article on the screen right now, which basically it's an article from MX, which is essentially the rise of e-commerce and wholesale distribution. Now, it touches on the fact, and I think the key part there is 7.7 trillion worth of business, or staggering business worldwide from a B2B aspect of it. But there is more pressure on wholesale distributors to basically move into, with the competitive market, move into other spaces. So typically what a lot of the wholesale distribution companies move into is taking the experiences of B2C, which is the user experience, the product feedback, and set up a e-commerce site. Now, in setting up an e-commerce site, it's all great. It gets them into the focus, it gets them into things. But there's a lot of background work that needs to happen to establish that, right? So I do suggest that when you get a chance to go through this particular article, but I just want to touch on that high level. So what are we going to be talking about today? So I'm going to touch on what does B2B moving into B2C really mean, okay? The typical strategy, as I said, and highlighted in that article, and probably a few articles if you kind of Google that subject, is move into an e-commerce strategy, build up a direct sales team, which is great. But what does that really mean to your organization? I just wanted to take some food for thought on that side. Now, essentially, yes, you build up a direct selling channel, which is great. You have increased sales, which is great because that's all we strive through towards, right? You have more customers. You'll understand your customers a little bit better across that. So again, all great stuff. Increase your supplier relationships. Now, of course, you'll build more supplier relationships. You would have your e-commerce provider, you would have your marketing team, maybe that's internal or that's external. You would have your supply chain, delivery management, suppliers in place. So all of these things take time to build up. But you know what? It's building up your relationships. All great positive points. Or are they? So, but in reality, are you not diluting your wholesale business? Yes, are you not increasing your operational expenses and time involved? And you're getting into an unknown environment. Look, we all like challenges. All businesses like challenges, and you're moving from one space to the other. But how much of that pain and how much of that time and how much of that money do you want to use to get into a new channel? Whereas there are technologies and solutions out there that can support you in that process. So Nigel and Barry touched on an ERP solution, Oracle NetSuite, where all that data comes into play, into the structure. You're building that information. You're really understanding and analyzing the data you have and making informed decisions across that. That's from a B2B side. Now, your consumer information, typically in wholesale distribution, you don't touch consumers, right? You don't get into that space. Now, consider this. What if you had the ability to create a channel for your B2B customers? Okay, that's leveraging on your current business, your current customers. You don't have to think much more around that. Understand the consumer buying habits. Now, typically that structure is, through the channel, distributor channel, you will get information back on your products. But are you really hearing what the consumers are saying about your products? Get feedback on your products, and that's direct feedback, not through a third party. And of course, you're looking to increase your profit margins, right? So that's all great. Now, all of this without diluting your main business to supply. Now, what I wanted to do is basically go through an example of a scenario, and then we're going to give you a quick demo on a product on Rio itself. So let's assume that I'm an auto parts wholesale distributor. I have a number of stores or agreements within the country, so they're not my direct stores. They're people that obviously we supply to, but sales are down. Sales are down because majority of the stores are only walk-in trade, right? Of course, with the whole COVID situation, that really put a dampener on sort of that walk-in trade. Stephen touched on a couple of things around the coffee side, the coffee barista moving in, the coffee provider moving into doing direct sales. Nigel and Barry touched on a couple of things around the e-commerce side and how they're using some of that functionality. Now, using that same example, let's move into the fact that, hey, yes, I create an e-commerce platform, but when you're creating an e-commerce platform, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that goes with that. Marketing, the ability to keep it up to date, your warehouse, your distribution, your items, your consumers and stuff like that, and your payment system, all of those things that you need to sign up to now. But let's say at minimum, you created a website. A buyer comes to your website, they direct website because they know what parts that they're looking at, they purchase from you, and they're not paying for it on there, or you can give them the option to do that, or they can pay at a time when it's delivered. Now that order goes to the store. It's not you fulfilling it. You're actually now supporting your B2B customer and giving them that order. So that order goes to that store that is closest to that consumer, to that customer. They prepare the order, they organize a delivery driver, and they basically get the item delivered to the consumer. At the time when the delivery is made, they accept that payment, and then guess what? And how does a store get paid? And how does a delivery driver get paid? Typically, they would have to wait some time because bank payments have to come through, and then the organization needs to split their amount, work out what all those components. But what if that happens instantaneously? As soon as the customer pays, the store gets paid, the delivery driver gets paid. Of course, the customer is going to be happy. They've just received their part. They're able to fix their car or whatever they're doing with that part and get on with their sort of day-to-day. The store is happy, they're continuing to get more business, and you're happy as a B2B, as a wholesale distributor, because you're still continuing to supply that your stores. Of course, one of the things additional to this is you get a delivery component to it. Now, without having to go and source delivery drivers, there's a market space out there for that piece. So now you're engaging delivery drivers and giving a job to somebody else, right? Or a structure across that piece. I'll stop talking now. I'm going to get to the important part, which is I'm going to pass it over to Varun, and he's going to show you that in a product simulation. So over to you, Varun.
Yeah, thank you very much, Arthur. If I can very quickly share my screen. Can everyone see my screen all right? All right, fantastic. Great. So for this session, what we'll be doing today is to take an example of a wholesaler of auto parts who wants to sell directly to the end customers, and how Rio can power this process end to end, from starting from the order creation by the customer to order fulfillment by the store. So the first step is to provide a customer-facing storefront where the customer can come and look at the product selection and place an order. Now, this can be your website. It can be your social media page where the customer can access and place an order. It can be any one of those places. So what I want to do now is just very quickly want to create a demo order and take you through the process there. So I come into your website. I want to order an engine part, maybe a petrol engine, and just buy it for $855. I'll be putting details around the order. I want the order to be delivered on the 3rd of March, which is today. At a time of my choosing. I can select some other fields there. I want one quantity of it, and very quickly just put my credentials there. Email address, and I'm ready to place the order as a customer. So now the order has been successfully placed. Now, once the order has been placed, we need to think about how to fulfill this order. So at this point of time, I want to hop across to Rio and show you how all the orders that have come through for the day look like on Rio. So the screen that you're seeing right now, this is what we call the order dashboard screen, which displays all the orders that have come through from our website to this dashboard, and they have also been distributed across all my stores which stock my products. So what you see on the screen is, on the left-hand side, this is a listing of all my stores, and these are the orders that are being delivered by these stores, right? So for Michael Wells Inc., they have a couple of orders at different times. One was for 9 o'clock, the other one is 1 o'clock. And they had to sort of process these orders. Now, what Rio can do is, when the customer places an order through your website, Rio can identify which is the right store to which this order should go to. Now, the criteria that Rio uses to drive that process is to know that, okay, the customer has placed his order from a specific postal code or PIN code, a Chatswood PIN code, for example, New South Wales. System can then go and scan through all your stores in the Chatswood region and go and directly allocate that order to a store which is closest to the customer location. The business also has live visibility of the status of the orders. So as you can see on your screen right now, the different color codes across all those orders. And you can see instantly as a business that, okay, the 9 to 10 booking or order for Michael Wells has been fulfilled, whereas the 1 to 2 order for Michael Wells is still active, or that means that it's in the process of being delivered. So you as a business can generate reports out of this view here, and match the performance of your stores, how quickly they're able to turn around orders and deliver to the end customer. I now want to shift the focus to the last mile delivery and the customer experience part of it. So I'm going to minimize my screen and show you two screens, one on the left-hand side and the right-hand side. The left-hand side screen is the screen of the delivery person who's responsible for going ahead and delivering this order from the store location to the customer location. And on the right-hand side, that's a customer view. So when a booking is created or order has been created and confirmed, the customer gets a notification on a mobile phone with a link to the order that's in place. They can click on that link and access the order. So the first thing I would do as a delivery driver or delivery person is to indicate on the application that I'm on the way to the location of a customer. So as soon as I do that, the customer view would come up with a map on the screen, and this way the customer would get instant visibility of how far the delivery driver is and how far is it going to take for him to deliver the order. The delivery driver can also use the chat functionality to communicate directly with the end customer if he wants to. So if I'm running late, if I have a punctured tire or any one of those things, I can actually send out a message on a chat saying that running late, for example, and send it across to the customer. The customer will get updated of the chat on a mobile phone, so they're able to track any changes in the schedule if there are any. All right. So once the delivery driver has reached the location of the customer, they will be creating on active. So active would mean that I'm ready to deliver the product to the end customer. At this point of time, if the payments were not collected previously, Rio provides the ability for the end customer to make payments directly into the system right now. So if the end customer goes to the invoice section, they will see the invoice already been created, the order that they chose, right? So it was a V6 petrol engine, a total of $855 that they can now pay directly from the application using their credit card. So the customer can click on the card option. This will take them to a payment gateway, which makes it possible for them to go ahead and place this order. All right. So once the customer has done that and the order has been delivered and everything is fine, the delivery driver will indicate that the order has been successfully completed, and they will mark it as finished. At this point of time, the customer would now again get an opportunity to leave a review for the product or the service that was delivered. So I will just quickly type that out here. Great service, and done that. So this gives a B2B business an opportunity to get direct feedback from the end customer, which they don't usually get a chance to do that, and that can help them enormously in improving the products and services that they deliver to the end customer. So that's a very quick recap of how Rio can be leveraged by B2B customers to drive that process. At this point, I want to quickly hand it over to Arthur for his comments on this.
That's great. Varun, thank you so much for that. So that's a good insight into one part of the solution that Jacob Solutions has in sort of building that last mile delivery component, but enhancing the B2B business into a B2C, right? Without spending too much money, without having to think about all the other pieces typically a B2B company would need to do if they're moving to that structure. But the important piece of that is also that front end, and Nigel, Barry talked about it, which is the ERP component, the solution, the businesses already have current products or solutions, CRM, ERP, information already at hand. Now, the ability to move that data between the two systems is there, right? And that's what makes the whole analytic portion of it very important. And that's what makes that whole structure of that from end to end process of either whether you're a B2B or a B2C sort of an organization. Now, I will just end with that piece. So thank you very much for your time. Anna, over to you.
Yes, thank you so much, Arthur and Varun, for that very comprehensive discussion that we had. Now, Rio is really interesting, especially if you're aiming to reimagine your customer experience and to take it to a whole new level. I think this is the platform for your wholesale distribution business. So it's really, really good. And I'm really excited to get into the questions that I already have here for you, Arthur and Varun. So without further ado, I'll just get into them. The first question is, are there best practices in the B2B setup that we can actually translate when we transform to B2C?
Okay, I'll take that. I think the key thing there is not to dilute your current business, right? So as a B2B, you already have your customers from a business to business component. It's about how do you enhance, and that's why our solution previously, as we talked about, is enhancing those channels that you have. So the best practices is, what, take the experience of what other people are doing out there, take the experience of getting guidance from organizations like Jacob Solutions, because we can help you in that positioning and how you do that. It's not only about the product, it's about the process and the methodology into the bringing that together.
Thank you so much for that, Arthur. Just another question here. What would you consider a truly consistent and seamless brand experience when transitioning, from B2B to B2C?
Good question. I think the brand is always the product, right? So it's your product, so you do not want to dilute that. Now, ultimately, again, in that sort of example that we provided you with the manufacturing parts, the parts business, motor parts, essentially there, it's not losing your brand. So how do you maintain and get that feedback across from that brand? So it's that consistency needs to remain, because that is your marketing component. That is where your business lies. It's people know that particular brand, so therefore they'll go straight to your website. And yes, they may come up with a whole bunch of distributors that support you in that channel, but you do not want to dilute that aspect of it.
Okay, there, it's very clear, Arthur. Thank you so much. I just have this one last question, and I had wanted to direct it to Varun. Varun, Rio seems like an exciting solution, but what other examples can this be used in?
Okay, so the example I gave you today was specific to order fulfillment. However, Rio is currently being used by service businesses such as plumbing companies, aged care companies, to deliver services to the houses of customers. So in a nutshell, if your business has a service component to it, Rio can help you with that.
Oh, so that's like a wide scope right there. Thank you so much for that, Varun and Arthur. Now, there are so many questions, but I'm actually excited to get into the panel discussion already. So again, just thank you so much for the insight, Varun and Arthur. Just don't go anywhere, because we are going to bring back the other speaker for our panel discussions right now. So let's welcome back Nigel and Barry into the screen. I see you all now, because I already have the questions here, and I know that our guests want to get right to it, so let's not keep them waiting any longer. So any of our speakers can actually answer the questions or maybe have a discussion, so we're just keeping it casual so that all the answers will just flow out naturally. So here we go. The first question is, what would be my priority requirement when I'm transitioning to B2B apart from the shift in technology? That's the first question. Anyone can jump in, gentlemen.
So a lot. Maybe I'll kick it off. To me, I think it's your. I think you touched, and somebody touched on a question earlier on, which is the methodology of the process, right? So that's probably one of your priorities. But at the same time, it's depending on the size of your business, you don't want to be spending huge amounts of money out there to go and develop a whole new set of processes, bring on new sales teams, etc. And you're only adding to those particular components. So utilizing and working with organizations like Jacob Solutions, who've done it with a number of customers in our space, and using the right products to support that is great. I think there's a lot of organizations that probably go towards, and without the shift in technology, they jump straight into that technology piece, right? And jumping straight into that technology piece normally goes to, oh, we'll go and get an off-the-shelf product and we'll try and fit our business around that. Whereas it should be the other way around. The technology is to support your business. So first thing is look at your processes. How does the technology fit that? And that's where key components like Oracle NetSuite and Rio comes into play, because we're fully configurable in the ability to support the business, not the other way around.
I think,
Anyone else? Okay, go ahead.
yeah, I'll add to that, Arthur, maybe just by touching on the change management processes that are required when going through any kind of transformation in your organization. You know, always consider and conduct a thorough change management assessment of whatever it is that you might be doing, especially when you're kind of changing your business model or maybe doing something a little bit different. You know, it's really, it's a really my strong recommendation to go through a robust, thorough process to assess all of the stakeholders that are going to be impacted by whatever it is that you're doing and whatever shift that you're making in your organization, because you want everybody to be on that bus, everybody saying the same story, telling the same message. And you know, if you're going into a new market, how does that affect your existing customer base? So understanding those and having the answers when invariably they're going to ask those questions. So making sure that you've gone through that.
Probably one of the things that I've noticed as well is customers that are trying to do that, Arthur and Barry, like, you know, they've asked us a lot to come in and do like a consulting piece for them, right? So write down, you know, we're talking about a business process and writing down and mapping those processes, because a lot of businesses, you know, Barry, you're blessed with the businesses that spans, I think, 3 continents, right? So you've probably got a lot of people, but some businesses are maybe a bit smaller and may not have the ability to conduct that sort of stuff. So and probably knowing as well and finding out, well, who can help and assist you guys with what do our current business processes look like? What are our current bottlenecks? What are our current, you know, concerns with vendors or customers or anything like that? And also understanding those pieces, and, you know, I guess, you know, we can help with those types of things as well. So it's probably just, I'd agree with you, Barry. Understanding is super important.
Okay, thank you so much for that, gentlemen. And hopefully that clarified a lot of the questions in our guest's mind today. I'm going to go ahead with a second question. What would you say are the biggest challenges that wholesale distributors are facing today, and how can we possibly address those challenges?
Look, I think one of the obvious challenges that people are going to face today is the uncertainty of today. You know, I think if you get punched in the nose once, you're a bit scared of being punched in the nose again. So, you know, it's I think a lot of wholesale distribution companies got a nice little jab, and I think it's one of those things where we've got to make sure. And I think one of the things we said earlier in the piece was 2020 really gave us a masterclass in making sure your business is future-proofed, right? So it's about making sure that we stay focused and, you know, stay changing and making sure that we're developing new products and we're measuring those things. So I think that all of it is, you know, it's a big part of it.
Yeah, maybe I can just come in a little bit on that one as well.
Yes,
and I think this was you know, discussed previously by Arthur as well. So, you know, I think the big challenge for B2B businesses is that you know, they rely too much on stores to, you know, to sell their products, and the footfall has fallen, you know, to the stores because of the COVID situation. They have to find alternate, you know, channels or sales channels to sell themselves. So I think that is a challenge that needs to be dealt with from a B2B company point of view.
And maybe just sort of adding to that as well, I think, you know, if you look at some of the organizations last year where they moved from one product type to another one very quickly in order to support the you know, the requirements of the world or the global requirements, you know, sanitizers, and I think, Nigel, you said toilet paper and various other things. So a number of organizations shifted very completely on from one structure of what they were selling to something else. Now, they probably wouldn't been able to do that if they didn't have the right systems and processes in place as well to support that, right? So, and this is where we saw with some of our customers on using NetSuite, where they were able to adapt from one product type into another product type very quickly and still maintain that B2B component of it. Some of them didn't move to the B2C, they stayed within the B2B, but they shifted on a product that they were selling.
Okay, before I get to the next question, there is a feedback from our guest, and I think this is a suggestion. So it says, better if during the communication of the delivery person with a customer, if he could just click on a pre-formatted answers so that he will not type while driving, specifically if he is on a bike. So I think this is a safety issue or a safety suggestion. So I just wanted to get it out there. That's a good feedback, I guess, and to improve maybe the system. So thank you for that. They didn't leave the name, but I'm sure everyone appreciates that. Okay, so I have just the one last question here because I think that's all the time we have for today. Can businesses use both B2B and B2C marketing strategies together?
Most definitely.
Yeah.
That's a short answer.
I'll add to that maybe, Nigel. Yeah, absolutely, right. But it's knowing who your audience is, right? Understanding who your audience is key, critical, because whilst you might be able to communicate at the same time, you might have to tweak that messaging and understand who that customer is in the end goal. And I think Arthur touched on it before. Having customers knowing about your brand and your experience, they're going to hit your website, right? So understanding that the type of customer that's coming to your website might be a new one, a new experience, and they're expecting a different experience from maybe your traditional customer. So making sure that you understand that pathway and that journey towards you, I think is really important. And as I said, tailoring or tweaking that messaging, making sure it's on point for the audience.
Yeah, I'll just support that. It's essentially about the message that actually ultimately goes out, because it is two different strategies. It's two different types of communication that needs to go out from a marketing perspective.
Well, and on a probably, sorry, Varun, go ahead.
Sorry, I think that's where getting feedback from customers is so important, because if you've operated in a B2B in environment for a long time and probably not engaged as closely with your end customer, that the ability for you to get direct feedback from your end customer, it goes a long way in understanding the B2C space as well. Yeah, go ahead, Nigel. Sorry about that.
No, I tend to agree. Look, the only other probably part of that we're not discussing is the obvious parts of that communication between you and the other B2B businesses that you're dealing with. If you're the supplier and the wholesaler of that product, there's pricing strategies and types of things. So that having that communication, having that ability to have good relationships with the people that you're working with is definitely something I think that we need to consider. And it's super important, because otherwise you can step on each other's toes or have miscommunications.
About change management, Nigel.
Exactly.
Very important. Okay, well, I think that's it for the questions that we have now. We are so sorry if we didn't get to your question, but please do feel free to send them our way, and we will try our best to answer them even after this webinar. That's how much we want to help and actually clarify some things for you. But again, we'd like to thank the speakers, Varun, Arthur, Nigel, and Barry. Of course, Stephen was also with us earlier. He's still with us, but everyone is just very, very grateful for your time, all of the speakers' time, as well as for our guests. Thank you so much for just joining us today and giving us a slice of your day. That's very, very important, and we don't take that for granted. And again, we are just here to just give you some insights on how existing wholesale distribution companies can actually work smarter in this hyper-connected market. And this is just one of the many, many opportunities Erp Solutions has in store for everyone. If you want to stay updated, all you have to do is like our official Facebook and LinkedIn pages. Regularly check with us so you can know when we are going on again with a webinar. And again, we just highly encourage you to send in your questions, send in your clarifications through a message, and we will get back to you as soon as we can. And of course, as we come to a close, please do remember this new reality is also full of wonderful possibilities, and we at Erp Solutions are truly committed to our vision of helping businesses flourish. We are one with you in facing a braver 2021 and also beyond. So thank you again for spending your time with us. It is truly an honor to be with you today. We will see you in the next webinar. My name is Anna. Enjoy the rest of your day. Be safe, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.